Hello and welcome to this video tutorial from BlenderCookie.com. My name is Jonathan Williamson and we're going to pick up today where we've left off on the shipping container tutorial series. This time we're going to be doing part 4 and we've got just a few more details to do on this model before we call it quits. So we may not get all of it done today, but hopefully we'll be able to get most of it, and this may be the last part, but we may need one more after this. And you can see, where we left off last time, we've still got to model the tops on these poles here, same thing on the bottom. We've got a couple of brackets right in here that need modeled. And then I think we've got a couple areas that we need to finish off the side walls or the top wall to close off the sections. So jumping over to Blender, we can just jump right in. Here on the front view, you can see that we've got these brackets here. We did these ones up at the top, which are these ones here, but we want to go ahead and do these ones as well. So a real easy way to do that is let's just go ahead and select, say, these bottom brackets right here, and we're just going to hit Shift D to duplicate them, then immediately right click, hit Tab to go into edit mode. And let's just zoom in here, and you remember that this is a array modifier, and so we're just working on just this one. And what I want to do is just hit B to box select, left click and drag, and we're just going to take this down while holding down Control to about, 1/3 or 1/4 of the total width, and that way it'll give us that perfect smaller bracket. Now, if I hit Shift Space to unmaximize my view, you can see we've got two array modifiers on this. This first one right here determines the left and right, and then the other one determines the up and down. So let's just go ahead and delete the second one because we only need the one bracket in here. So we'll just click the X to delete that, and then we can go ahead and just hit G, hit Z to lock to the grid or Z axis, and then hold down Control and just pull it up to about right there. And that's a little bit too high, so let's go ahead and go in again, maybe move it down to about about right there. And then what we want to do is grab the bolts model or the nuts, and let's go ahead and duplicate it again as well. Then we'll delete the second array modifier, and then we're just going to hit G and pull them up while holding down Control, and we're just going to go ahead and position it. We'll do this manually. Just position it right about there where we can see it's just about centered. It doesn't have to be exact. Let's hit Tab to go into edit mode, deselect everything, and then we can just either hit B or Control left click and drag around these ones while in wireframe mode or in shaded mode if you don't happen to have the limit selection available or enabled. And then we're just going to hit X and delete vertices. So that gives us those brackets really quick and easily. Hoping to complete that a little bit more. And now the main two parts that we have still to do are these top pieces here, which basically we've got two studs that this will then be able to turn in or out of to lock. And you notice that this stud right here is basically open. This one has an extra ridge on it. And then we have this kind of double-sided claw, I guess you could call it, that then locks in there. So we've got those to do, and then we also have these handles here, which allow you to turn these, thus locking them, or they can have a padlock put through right here with this little spin bracket, which can be turned up or turned down if you want to go ahead and lock the handles in place, thus locking the door. And then one other thing that we have to do too is that on these poles here, since we don't want them to slide up and down in their brackets, we also have these ridges that we need to put on the poles. So let's go ahead and do that first, as that'll be real quick and easy. Again, remember that we've just got the one pole with the array and the mirror modifiers. So it's arrayed once and then mirrored across. So first on this, let's go ahead and just hit Control R, scroll up once, and then, actually, we'll just go ahead and do 4 loop cuts like this. And then we're going to hit S and Z, scale them up to about where they go, just about at the top there. Then we'll left click. And then in wireframe mode by hitting Z, we're going to hit B and middle click and drag across the bottom vertices and the top vertices. So then we can then just hit S and Z to scale these ones up to, again, their approximate location. And then we'll just zoom in here and we'll do one at a time. And I'm going to grab these ones. I'm going to hit Control Shift Tab to switch into vertex snapping, and then I can hit G and Z, hold down Control, and just snap up to one of these vertices right up here. I may need to zoom in a little bit to make it a little bit more accurate. And let's do this actually real quick. Let's grab this and let's turn off on the subsurf. Turn off the... Actually, if we just... Let's see. If we turn off the object mode there, then we can make it nice and precise so that we can see exactly where we're snapping to. Right there. Then we'll grab the bottom ones as well. There we are. And then let's go ahead and we're going to scale these up. So hit S and Z, scale up. Actually, we may need to, let's switch back into increment snap by hitting Command or Control Shift Tab, S, Z, scale it up once. Then we'll add in 2 loop cuts, scale them up to right about there. And then what we can do is just select just this one section, hit E to extrude, immediately right click, such that we have just the extrusion, and then we can hit S and Shift Z so we only scale horizontally, and we'll first scale just a little bit, so holding down Control just 1 notch, and then we'll do it again. So again, just extrude, right click, S and Shift Z, and then scale up maybe twice, and that'll give us that ridge. Then we could go ahead and bring down, or actually rather than bring down an edge loop, let's just go ahead and select, say this edge, oops, not that one. This one, we'll hit Shift E, or I guess it's, is it, let's see, what is crease? Crease is, edge crease, here we go. And we'll just put that at, say, 0.75, ought to be pretty good and sharp. And so we can see that, right, or there it is. We can do that, and then we could go ahead and do that on this one as well. Oops. And we'll do it here as well. Okay. And so then what we want to do is we just want to replicate that same thing down here. But rather than doing that whole step again, let's just select these. I'm going to hit X, delete the faces. Then we'll grab these ones, Control Shift Tab, switch to vertex snap, Shift D, snap them down, hold down Control, snap to right there, select everything with double tap A, W, and remove doubles. And then we can just select everything and Control in, and that will fix any normals that we have in there. And for some reason, the creasing got messed up on these, so we can just set that there by hitting N. And for some reason, let's take that all down to 0, and then 0.75. And there we go. So I don't know why those got disrupted, but they did. There we go. I think it was something with the remove doubles. It got confused in some places, I guess, where some of the creases kept, some of them kept the old value. So that is something to be aware of. And then what I want to do is we're just going to select all of these, Shift D, take them down like this, and down like this, and we'll just move them approximately in place, just about like that. And then we can go ahead, let's select this, we'll hide it. I'm going to grab these 2 edge loops by Alt Shift right clicking on them, hit G, Z, take them down a little, maybe scale them up, hit X, delete the faces, because then I can hit Alt H, grab these, and just G, Z, snap to there, and G, or Alt right click, G, Z, hold down Control, snap to there, select everything, W, and remove doubles. Now again, you'll notice some of this creasing messed up, so let's go in here, we'll select these, take these all the way down to 0, and then go back up to 0.5. So we're basically resetting the crease and then doing them again. Now you'll notice that with the creasing, we're getting some nasty distortion right in here. And this is where I don't advocate using creasing exclusively. You know, it's okay in some cases if you want to tone down the geometry, but you'll notice that that looks pretty terrible. And so really the only good way to resolve that is to go ahead and throw in, say, 2 more edge loops like this, Control R, then S and Z, scale them up to just below it, and there we go. Now that looks fine. So we'll go ahead and add one above and below it as well. But using the combination of them, of the creasing and the edge loops, then you can kind of get the best of both worlds where you still keep relatively low polygon counts, but things still look good. Okay, some reason it seems that this has gotten off. Let's see, it looks like this one is off. So let's just grab this array modifier here. You can just move this in. I don't know. Let's see, going over here. No, it seems that I did something while just working on it today. So I don't know what I did, but that's okay. Well, let's see, 8.75 looks, nope, 8.77, 8.78. Okay, close enough. But I did something, don't know when. I'm sure you guys probably caught it and were laughing this whole time, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and just while we're working on the repetitive pieces, let's do these top brackets, and we'll just do it first on this one here. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to grab this, I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Tab, switch back into Increment Snap. I'm going to get rid of the manipulators. Since I'm working in a small area, they're really distracting, so I'm just going to hit Control-Space, and that will disable those, or I can toggle them on and off right here. What I want to do is we're just going to extrude this up, say to about right there looks pretty good. So that's basically 1, 2, 3, 0.4 Blender units approximately, it seems. And then we're going to just hit E to extrude, right click, and then S, and just scale this in just a little bit. And then we'll do that again, scale it in, and then let's go ahead and go in and fill these in. So I'm going to select these two. I'm going to hit F to fill in an edge, and then I'm going to hit W and subdivide, because then I can just select 4 vertices at a time, fill them in, and I won't get any pinching that I would have gotten if I had just merged those to a single vertex, or a single vertex, sorry. Okay, so now what I can do is I'm going to throw in, say, we'll go ahead and do 2 more. Yeah, we'll do 2 more edge loops for now. And then let's go ahead. I'm going to grab this whole piece. I'm going to go into top view by hitting 7, and then I'm going to rotate this. Let's see. I want to say 22 degrees. So we're just going to hit R, Z, and 22. And what that does is, well, actually, it's not quite exact, but I want this edge to be perfectly flat. So let's just rotate this while holding down Shift, and we can make that pretty much exact. Right about there's going to be about as close as we can get. Not perfect, but that's okay. And the reason that I just did that is because I now want to use, here at the top, I want to grab these vertices, or basically a face here and a face here, and I'm going to extrude them out for the little knobs that you see right here. But what I want to do on them is we want to make this more square. So let's go ahead and hit Control R. We're going to add in a new edge loop right about in here. Then we're going to go ahead and we'll do one along the top too, so that we keep these perfectly square. And then I'm going to add in a 3rd edge loop on each one of these, and you'll see why in just a second. Because then I'm going to go ahead and grab these, and I'm going to grab these, and hit Control-Shift-Tab to switch into, or actually no, we'll just hit S, Y, and scale them out like that. And that will just make it a little bit more squarish, which looks pretty awkward for the time being, but now we can go ahead and just grab, say, this face. Actually, let's hit Control-Tab and go into face mode. We're going to grab these 4 faces by Shift right-clicking on them. And then we'll just hit E to extrude, right-click, S, and X, and then just scale them out. Let's see, first, this left side needs to be shallower, so that'll be about right. I'm going to hit B, middle click and drag across those, and then we're going to take these ones out just a little bit further to get that shape. Now, this top one, we want to actually kind of go up like this. So I'm going to pull this one back a little bit more, then extrude it out again. I'm going to rotate it and take it up, and then I'm also going to scale it down along the z-axis a little bit to flatten it out. This one here, I'm going to hit Control-Tab, go into vertex mode. We're going to grab these vertices, pull them down a little bit, just so that these are nice and open and can easily slide around this piece that you see right here. You know, this needs to turn basically counterclockwise like, or I guess clockwise like that in order to unlock. And so that's what we are basically making. And let's see, actually I did this the wrong way. We're going to go ahead and select everything and hit R, Z, and 180. Whoops. First, let's Alt-right click, select these, Shift S, cursor to selected. Since my entire shape is no longer perfectly circular, now we can hit period to rotate around our cursor, R, Z, and 180. Whoops. R, Z, 180. There we go. And that'll flip it around because now the prongs are on the inside edge like they should be. I forgot which side I was working on. Okay. And then we want to go ahead and I'm going to grab these. I'm going to hit comma and an S and Shift Z, just scale them down a little bit. On these, this actually needs a kind of a ridge extruded out, so I'm going to Alt-right click to select both these loops. I'm going to hit E to extrude, right click to cancel that, and then S and Shift Z, scale them out just a little bit, and that will create that ridge as well. Then I might as well go ahead and add in another edge loop to bring that up, or I can go ahead and crease this, say to 0.75 or so, like that. And at a distance, you'll never notice that. Okay, this needs to be a little sharper than it currently is. So I'm going to add another edge loop down about like that, and another one about like that. And then the other sides, actually this one ought to be along the top. So I'm going to select it with Alt-right, so it's Alt-right click, Control E, and edge slide. Take it up about like that. And then we're going to add two edge loops on the bottom one. There we go. So now both sides are relatively strong. And then I want to go ahead and grab these, and we're just going to pull them in along the x-axis a little bit to ensure that there's plenty of space in there. Okay, and let's go ahead and replicate this down to the bottom. So I'm going to select all of this. I'm going to hit Shift D, right click, S, Z, and -1. Let's zoom way out, hit G, Z, pull this way down, and zoom in here. And then we'll just take this. See, that ought to be about centered in there. Yeah, that looks good. And so then I can hit Z, go into wireframe mode, B, deselect that, and then G, Z. Oops, just snap this down to here, but I need to snap in a vertex snap. So Control Shift Tab, vertex, G, Z, snap right there with Control, select everything, W, and remove doubles. Control N to remove the blackness. And actually, this edge loop doesn't even need to be here, so let's hit X, delete edge loop, and what on earth? Oh, that's because I have this bottom plate here that I messed up on. So this bottom plate should not be here. Let's see. This ought to be basically identical to the top one. So let's find that there. And in fact, we have a bottom plate. Let's go ahead and let's just delete that. Let's find our bottom plate. And what have I done? Okay, so currently we have a lot of space right here where really this ought to come right up to the door panel. So let's go into top view, and we're just going to select all of that right in there. And we just want to hit G and Y, pull that up until we just hit the door panel. Or I guess we are hitting the door panel right there. Let's see, that just about works. Then we can take this edge down here, pull that down, and actually, let's just go ahead and replicate this down. So I'm going to select this, Shift D, SZ, -1, take this down, and we should be in vertex snap right now, so we'll just GZ, snap to there, select everything, W, and remove doubles, and we'll grab these, snap it. We can delete that edge loop, or those vertices, and then we'll just snap that over to there. Extrude, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles. We removed one vertex. Snap that to there. Okay, we want to step back a little bit until we remove doubles. There we go. Now GZ, snap to there. And apparently I have no idea what I've done, but we're going to grab this, hit V, rip that, and now we should be able to select these two pieces. There we go. And of course this doesn't want to play nice and snap correctly, so I'll just move it carefully by hand. I'll select that, delete the vertex. Oh, and that would be why. Go over here, grab this one, snap to there, that one, snap to there, select everything, W, remove doubles. And there we go. Now we can select everything, Control N, and that was way too much work, but that's okay. Helps when you actually know how your model's constructed that you're working on. And I'll just move that up a little bit. And then let's go ahead and grab these, and we're going to move this one up just a little bit more, like that. And then again, we need to fix this crease, take it down to 0, and then 0.75, and there we are. Excuse me. Okay, with all that fixed and a little bit of a mess, let's go ahead and you can see we're going to have to fix the back now that we've done that. Or actually, I guess the back is probably just fine, like it is. But we want to go ahead and add in those knobs in here. And again, somehow I've done this. So, the reason is because it's set to relative offset rather than constant offset, where this really ought to be, I think it was 8.79 was the amount, I believe. And clearly that's not correct, so maybe 0.879, which is a little bit closer, but still not correct, so we'll just move this in. Say to 0.395. Looks pretty much exact. There we go. So now that won't ever move. Let's go in here. And I'm going to, the way that we're going to do these knobs, let's just grab this. We're going to Shift D, right click, and we're going to rotate around the Y-axis. Or let's see, rotate around the Y-axis, 90 degrees, like this. Take it down along the Z-axis to about right there. I'm going to go ahead and fill that face and that face. I'm going to go ahead and take this out a little bit more, so I just selected it by hitting L. And then I'm going to select these two edges, so I can Alt-right click and Alt-Shift-right click, and that will select these up to the corners. Then I'll hit X, delete the faces. You can select this, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, take it back a bit more, maybe scale it up a little bit, E to extrude again, scale up some more, and then I'll extrude one more time, scale in, take those back. So it's basically, I'm creating a weld seam, basically. And then I want to take these all the way back to the surface. Actually, no, that's not quite what I want to do. I want to go ahead and let's delete those. And instead, let's take this all the way back in there. And if we go ahead and just hit Control-Shift-Tab, switch to Face Snap, and then G, Y, I can snap right to that face to get that exact. And then I want to go ahead and grab this face. I'm going to hit X, delete the faces, because then I'm going to select these 4 vertices, which should be perfectly symmetrical, or perfectly in the center here. I'm going to hit Shift-S, cursor to selected, because then I can select this. I'm going to hit period and Shift-D, then SX and -1 to flip that around. And then I can go ahead and select this, hit E to extrude, snap right to, go back to vertex snap, snap to there, select everything, W, and remove doubles. Control N to fix that, and there we are. That fixes that. Then I can go ahead and maybe just extrude this out just a little bit. Maybe I'll pull this back along the y-axis, some back, maybe or scale along the z-axis a bit, and then I'll take that in again, kind of creating a weld seam effect there. Now I might go and add in another edge loop there and an edge loop there, and then I'll select both of them, pull them out a bit. On this side, I want to go ahead and pull this in so that this is nice and rounded here. And that almost does it. But on this one, or actually that's not the one that's supposed to be rounded. Let's take that back out. Let's make this one a little bit more rounded. And then on this one, what I want to do is go ahead, add in another edge loop right through here. And then we're going to grab these two edge loops by Alt-Shift right-clicking on them. We're going to pull them out a bit further. And then we're going to hit E to extrude, pull them out to about there, add in another edge loop right here, and then I'm going to grab these top faces and these bottom faces. I'm going to hit E to extrude, right click, then S, Z, scale them up, and then I'll extrude again, scale those up, and then maybe I'll go ahead and go back into vertex mode. Let's grab these vertices and these vertices. We'll pull them in like this. And maybe all of this is a bit too high. We'll just kind of scale these down just a bit. That way it can only rotate the one way from the bottom. And that looks about right. So now this beam, basically, if we go in here, this piece, we'll just rotate around our cursor. This piece, if you were to unlock the door, you would basically just rotate it like this, and then you would be able to rise up and down, except you can't at the moment because I put in this central loop, which actually shouldn't be there. I just realized. So we'll select these. If I can select the right loop, there we go. Hit X, delete the faces. Then we can just fill these in manually like this. Like so. And then let's go ahead and grab these and these. Scale them in along the X. Deselect that. Deselect these. And then scale these ones in further like that. So now this can rotate all the way around, although right now these are a little bit long. So let's go in here. Let's grab this and this and this, pull them in a bit, and then these ones could probably come up just a bit. Now this should be able to just rotate all the way around like that. And then you would be able to raise and lower this whole piece to unlock the doors. Cool. Maybe those studs need to be a bit sturdier. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to grab this half here, along with this half, and that right there, and that. Then we're going to hit SX and scale them out along the x-axis like so, to make them a little bit sturdier there. And maybe these and these and these, these and these can go ahead and scale up, hitting comma first, scale up along the S or the Z axis like that to get a little bit more strength in there. Okay, and now that should be mirrored across to the bottom, which they're not. Oh, of course they're not. So let's just go in, hit L and L, just like both of these, Shift D, take them down along the Z axis. Move them down until they fit, about like that. Okay, so that does that, and let's see, we're doing all right on time. We've got just about 15 more minutes or so. So let's go ahead and let's just finish this up. We don't have too far to go. So what I want to do is we want to put in these handles now. And we're going to start by doing one of the handles with the array in here. And then we'll go ahead and separate it out, remove the array, and then just mirror it correctly. So first I'm going to select this. I'm going to hit Shift S, cursor to selected. The reason being just to get my cursor approximate. And then I can just go ahead and position it right about in there. So now it's centered along the y-axis on this beam or this pole, but it's off kilter here. So now I can just hit Shift A, add in a cube. We can scale that cube way down to about, I don't know, about right there. And then what I want to do is, you can see this is actually basically just a U bracket where it's this flat piece then folds around to the back and then it's open on the bottom so you can insert a new handle. And so the way that we'll do this is, let's just go into side view, hit S and Y, scale this down to about right there, maybe a little bit more. And then we're going to add in, say, 2 edge loops. And we'll add in another edge loop up to the top, about like that. And then we're going to select these faces, hit X, delete faces, and then we'll fill in a face, fill in a face, and fill in a face. And so that is just very quickly and easily created that kind of U bracket there. And then looking at our reference, we can see that we want to add in some strength to it. So let's add in 2 edge loops like this, scale them over. Let's go ahead and grab this side. We'll pull it over to about there. And maybe pull it back a little bit. And then I want to add in edge loop there, and then we can select both of them, take them down along the Z axis to about like that. Maybe we'll go a little bit, or let's then just take this over. I'm going to go into increment snap first. We're going to take it over 1 and take this up 1. Actually, no, that just gets kind of messy. Instead, let's just select these. We'll pull them up. Select this, pull that over, and then we can go ahead and select this edge loop all the way around. And all the way around, hit in and go in. Let's go ahead and just set this crease to 1. Then we'll do the same thing here, here, and here. Set that all the way to 1. And so now we've got a really nice crease through there. We'll go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And on the inside. Okay, there we are. And then let's go ahead and, right now that looks a little bit tall, which maybe it is. Let's select these 2 loops. We're going to hit scale them in, take them down a little bit. Select everything and shade smooth. And actually I'm going to go into edge mode. We're going to select all of these edges that I've added the crease to. And the reason being is because I want to take the crease down a little down a little bit because it's just too sharp. We're going to take it down to say 0.8. That will just soften, or no, that's a little too low. Let's do 0.9. And that will just soften that up just enough that it doesn't stick out. Let's go ahead and I'm going to select all of these. Except that I don't want, let's actually just select everything, and then we'll hit B and deselect these, because then I can just hit S and Y, and bring those in a little bit. I also feel it's a little bit too tall right now, so I'll just take that up. And that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and put just a simple bolt through it. So I'm just going to select this for the center. Oops. Alright, we'll just position this approximately. Shift A, add in a cube, scale this down to about right there. Scale it up along the y-axis, like that. Let's hit Control R, add in, oh, we may have to zoom in here a little bit. Here we go. Add in 2 edge loops, and then scale it out. And that will add in a nice kind of panhandle nut right there. And maybe we need to bring this out just a little bit. Go back to our reference. We can see that it's also a little bit lower, about there. And that should be good. So then we just want to do this handle. The way we'll do the handle is basically just extrude this out real quickly. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab these 4 vertices. I'm going to hit Shift D, right click, pull them in a bit, and then hit F to fill in a face between those. And then we'll just go ahead and hit E to extrude. Take this out like so. Let's get rid of all the creasing on this. And then what I want to do is we're just going to basically extrude this out almost to the other one here, about like that. Let's go and add in 2 edge loops there, which will be the starting points for this curve in. Add in 2 more loops like that. We can take this in till it almost touches the door. Then we can go and take these. We'll scale them out along the x-axis. And then I'm going to, we're going to add in another edge loop just temporarily. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate this. I'm going to rotate it around the x-axis 90 degrees. And then I'm going to pull it out along the y just a little bit. Take it over across the x. Well, actually, go back to about there. I'm going to extrude this across. And then I'm going to select these sides. I'm going to pull them up. Go into about right there. And I'll grab these 2 vertices and these 2. Scale them into the center there. And that will create my center point. I can go ahead and delete that face. And that face there. Select everything. W. Shade smooth. We can go ahead and remove that edge loop now. So I'll select it. Hit delete X. Delete edge loop. And let's see. We're getting really close to being done here, but I want to go ahead and on this handle, let's take this, let's scale it down along the z-axis a little bit. We'll extrude again, scale it down a bit more. You grab both of these, pull them out. Let's go ahead and add in 2 edge loops, then scale these up. I'm going to add in another edge loop across here, and we need to add one on the top. We'll pull them in out along the X, and we're not going to worry about putting a hole in that because you probably won't see it. You can add that if you want, but for the time being, just so we can finish this up, we're not going to worry about it. But instead, we're going to do this back bracket, which actually need to ensure that this is pulled forward enough that there's space back there. But I'm going to use this as a base, but I want to hit Shift L over this vertex to deselect that. So I'm going to hit Shift D, pull this back to right about there. And so I can see I need to go ahead and pull this up a bit more. So let's just pull that up like that. I'm going to take this, rotate around the y-axis 90 degrees, and then we can scale up along the z-axis there like that. And what we want to do now is maybe widen this a bit and then put in a bracket on the bottom and a bracket on the top, with the top one being able to spin. So let's widen this a bit. We'll scale it up a bit more like that. And then let's go ahead, we'll select this. I'm going to Shift D. We're going to rotate around, or actually let's just switch into side view. Move it over like this. go down a little, extrude down, rotate a bit, bring it out, rotate around, take it up, extrude it out. Oh, and actually I didn't go down nearly far enough. Take that down to there, and it would seem that this isn't nearly tall enough either. I'll pull this out as far as I can. Take this, pull it back to about there, and then we want to go ahead and extrude it again, and then we will cap this off. And again, that was just selecting them and then hitting F to fill in a face. On that, let's go ahead and add in this triangle shape to it. So these ones here, these need to come forward. And then we want to scale, add in another loop here, and then we want to go ahead and actually add another one there. Select these, Alt-Shift right click on that, scale it in, and then we want to grab these here and scale them in like that. We'll go ahead and select everything, W, shade smooth, Control N. Let's cap off this right here. Add in another edge loop to straighten that up. We'll grab this, pull that back, maybe pull this forward. Let's go ahead and grab all of these. Well, no, we won't worry about that. Actually, let's just select this whole thing and hit Alt-S to just shrink it down a bit. And it's okay that it doesn't quite fit because, you know, you're never going to notice that from a distance anyway. We can go ahead and scale that one down too. I just want to pull these out a bit more. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and select this. We're going to Shift D to duplicate it, SZ, -1. Pull it down to right about there. And so then what will happen is, let's see, wait a second. I need to look at this. Yeah, so this one, okay, so this piece here, we're going to go ahead and take this up like that. This needs to be centered on there, and then this needs to have, if we select this, Shift S, cursor to selected, hit period, and then grab this, and this basically needs to be able to rotate up just enough to get out of this groove here, such that this will then spin up. So let's just grab this, Shift D, we'll move it over there. Maybe scale this one down just a bit like that. And then we're going to take this down and we'll add 2 on the bottom one. And that way it cannot spin. So it's locked in place. Grab that, and we just want to pull them back along the y-axis, say to about right there. This actually needs to come back quite a bit along with this. So just hit Control-Shift-Tab, switch to vertex snap, and snap back along the y-axis to right there. We need to go ahead and cap these off. And then what we'll do is we'll just add in a couple edge loops for that. Like that. Control R. Oops, I added in 3. We just want 2. Then SZ. Scale them up. And there we go. Maybe we'll select this whole piece, scale it up a little bit so there's a little more tolerance there. And then what I want to do is we're going to grab all these pieces. So I'm just going to select them all, and we're going to hit P and separate by selection. Grab this. Let's see if that's the array that we want. So we're going to go ahead and just delete that array. We want to keep the mirror on it, but then we're going to hit tab to go in edit mode. We're going to shift D, right click, S, or hit comma, scale around the individual center, S, X, -1, and then we'll grab this one, take it down to about here, and let's hit Control I to inverse the selection, GZ, pull it up to about right there. Okay, so then with those just placed there, I think that we're pretty much good to go. Those look pretty good based on the reference. Got the two over there. I believe that's all the pieces. So now, just to finish things off and call this tutorial series done, let's go in. We've got a couple of tweaks, say on the top panel here. We've got this gap in here, so what we'll do, we're just going to go and apply the array modifier, hit tab to go into edit mode, and then let's say grab, looks like we want to just grab this panel like this. We're going to hit Shift D, right click, and then Control Shift Tab, switch into vertex mode. And actually, no, that's not completely right. We're going to undo this, restore the array modifier, because then I want to go ahead and we're going to add in our subsurf modifier, increase the count to 2. And then what we need to do is you'll notice that in a couple of the areas here, like here, we just need to add in another edge loop so that these are consistent here. Or wait, undo that. It actually is already consistent. So it looks like maybe our array, if we disable that, the array actually may just be going too close. So let's disable the merge for a second. And let's also just isolate this in object modes by hitting Shift H. And then looking at our wireframe, there we go. The merge, you can see, is grabbing that. So we just need to turn this distance down to say 0.005, and then that will work perfectly. Okay, so now we can apply our array modifier, re-enable our subsurf, turn that back to optimal display, and that actually looks pretty nice and crisp already. So let's Alt-H to unhide everything. Select this, hit Tab to go into edit mode. I'm just going to grab that section there. We're going to Shift D, move it up along the y-axis to about right in. Or actually, we want to grab all the way up to there. Shift D, move it over, and then snap to right there. Select everything, W, or actually, oops, looks like I didn't snap quite far enough. Okay, let's select everything, W, and remove doubles just in case. Looks like we had some duplicates. Not sure why, but we did. So then we can duplicate these over, and then we'll Shift D, move this down, and then snap to right there. Select everything, W, remove doubles, and then we can simply select these edge loops here, hit X, delete, and then these ones looks like they're just going to overlap inside there, so that's perfect. Let's grab this. We're going to take this inside edge. Let's just add in another edge loop there and another edge loop there. Then we'll grab these two vertices and these two vertices, take them down along the z-axis until it merges or just overlaps there. We can check this back panel, and it actually still has this original mesh, so let's just delete that. Let's grab this, and I'm just going to, in object mode, just hit Shift D, right click, rotate around the z-axis 90 degrees. Let's delete the mirror modifier, move it over along the x-axis in edit mode. Then let's just move this over until it fits right in there. And then we can pull this back about like that. We move this over a little bit more, and then we can just turn our array count down to right there, and that works pretty much perfectly, such that then we just need to apply our array, go into edit mode, select everything. Oops, actually before we apply our array, turn this down to 0.005, I believe it was. Yeah, there we go. Okay, then we can apply this. Select everything, W, remove doubles just in case. So I'm not sure where the doubles are coming from, but some of them just aren't merging correctly apparently. Then we can just select all these, hit X, delete the vertices. Let's, on the sides, let's adjust our arrays. Merge count down to 0.005 again, ensure that those are correct. And this one, again, needs to be extended, so we'll just go ahead and apply that. Go into edit mode, select everything, W, remove doubles. Let's just grab this vertex, we'll hit E to extrude, or that loop, and extrude that again. And again. That works well. Okay, and I believe that may just be it. Let's go ahead and add in a subsurf modifier on this. Let's go ahead and take that count up to 2, optimal display. We're going to delete the end caps on it. So we'll just select them, hit X, delete the faces. And then all I want to do is go in, add an edge loop there, add an edge loop there. Don't need that one there, add in 2 there. Scale that up. And there we go. Select everything, shade smooth. There we are. And lastly, we've got this one here as well. Again, we'll delete our end caps. Add in a subsurf modifier. And then let's add in, say, 2 edge loops there. Scale them up. That's maybe a little too far. Add in 1 there, and 1 there, and 1 there. There we are. And we'll select everything, W, and shade smooth. And I do believe that will do it. Actually, let's go ahead and we'll hit Shift H to isolate this. Let's apply our solidify modifier, add in our subsurf. Optimal display, subdivisions 2, delete the end caps. And then let's go ahead and add in a loop, and a loop, a loop, another one there. And we could be doing this with creasing if we wanted to. To be perfectly honest, I just find the edge loops to be much faster. And since I'm not too concerned about the poly counts, it's faster, it's more intuitive, and it's easier to edit than the creasing is. Okay, now we can just Alt-H, unhide everything, and here we go. I'm sure that there's probably something that I've missed somewhere along the way that you guys will be able to point out. Please feel free to, but for the time being, I think we're going to call this done. If there's anything major that you guys can point out that, definitely needs to be done, let me know, and I might consider doing one more tutorial, but for the time being, we're going to call it done, so thanks again for watching.